Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we stand for education, inspiration, and hope across the world to our global audience. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we are so excited to bring you a brand new show. This is the Planet Earth Show. This show will be on every other Monday in coordination with bringing you all kinds of information about what is going on our planet and what we can do to help. So I'm not alone. I have my dear friend and colleague and team member, Mr. Roland.friedl, who will be joining me. Let's welcome him, and then we'll bring out our special guest. Hello, Roland. Good to see you again.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. Great to see you again, and great to see you on this specific show when we talk about planet Earth. I love it.
I love it too. And I was super excited to put together this background and our show tile, because if we think about it, life is so much bigger than just us, just our entity, our home, our community. And when I look at this background, I just see the vastness of all of it and how some of the things that are happening, whether we're directly involved or we're not, we need education and awareness. And so I'm really excited about today's topic, which is wind and waves, turbines, and the sea. We have somebody with us today who has really strong opinions about this topic, and that's why I'm super excited to bring him. But before I introduce him, let's have you share a little bit about the work that you do and the value you can bring to our audience.
Thank you. Yeah, hello, everyone. My name is Roland. As you can hear from my accent, I'm from Austria, in the middle of Europe. I was always a world traveler, traveling around the globe, working worldwide for different international businesses, consulting them, training their stuff, optimizing the processes. And yeah, the last 14 years I've been living in Spain on a beautiful island. Before I was in Bali, in the US and other countries. And right now, actually since, a little more than a year, since April last year, I moved into my motorhome, traveling around Europe and different places. Right now I'm in Austria, before I'm heading to another country. Yeah, the work I'm doing is since almost 2.5 decades, a little bit more than 2.5 decades. I consult, I train, I coach international companies with my team in different languages. That's my main job, say so. Besides that, I do a lot of men's work. I come back just yesterday from a men's retreat, 15 men in the wilderness. Really, really cool. No telephone network, but we could hear the wolf pack very close howling. So it was quite a cool experience. So I do a lot of men's work because I think we also have to improve as men to make this planet a better world. I coach people who want to have a kind of weird lifestyle like myself, traveling and working from the most beautiful places in the world. That's another part. And then it's, of course, my foundation in Switzerland, Respect Mother Earth, where I take care about planet Earth, Panchamama, Mama Earth, or Body Mama, how they say in India. And because when I was traveling around the globe, I saw beautiful spaces, but I also saw some challenges we are facing with, industry, environment, toxifications, destroying nature, mankindly. And yeah, that's why my heart is also pumping, if you will, so for Panchamama, for Mother Earth. And I'm very happy that we start this show. And as I said, this show is not a finger pointing one. It's about showing you what we can do on a daily basis, but also discussing controversial topics like today. And because some people have not the correct data, not the correct facts, what is shown on the mass media or what the elite or politics want to show us. So it's a quite interesting topic. Very looking forward, especially also to our special guest.
Thank you so much. And yes, our guest is very special. He's a dear friend, and he's one of our expert correspondents from the United Kingdom News and Culture Show. He also is an expert when it comes to aquaculture as well as fisheries. He is a television presenter, and he's also been a celebrity chef, and he was on our United Kitchen show. Let's welcome our dear friend, Simon MacDonald, joining us from Scotland. Hi, Simon.
Hello there. Hi. It's nice to see you again. Nice to see you again, Roland. I think it must be nearly a year since we last did a show.
I remember you've been in Spain on a seafood fair.
Yes, that's right. That was just over a year ago, and it was a very successful event. It was the world's biggest seafood expo. It was just it was jaw-dropping to go in and see the size of this. Nobody could get round it all in the allotted time that the show went on over three days. You just couldn't get round it all in that time. It was amazing. Every country in the world, I think, just about was represented there. And of course, we were flying the flag for Scotland in a very big way as well, and promoting our langoustine and from our clear waters.
Nice.
Simon, you have extensive knowledge that most people aren't aware of in terms of the fisheries, in terms of the I want to say the flow of fish from one country to a plate, for example. You also have extensive experience in smokehouses. Tell our audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into today's topic.
How long's the show?
You have 50 minutes. Go ahead.
I'll try and condense it down to that time. No, I've been involved in fisheries, aquaculture, and particularly with fish processing for 43 years now. So I'm starting to get the hang of it, but still learning something new every single day. And like all industries, it evolves, and something new is happening, or there's new legislation coming, or at the moment we're faced with climate change, and so that in itself is creating its own set of issues, and we've all got to work with it. You can never fight Mother Nature. You've got to go with it and work with it rather than trying to work against it. Too many people have sort of buried their head in the sands like the proverbial ostrich and say, oh, it's all right, won't affect us. We're only here for a short time, so that's it. But it will affect us, and it is affecting us now. And it will in particular affect future generations, for our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren. So we've really got to bite the bullet now and start repairing the problems that have arisen from the past. It's not all man-made, but a big percentage of it is, and we can do something about it now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Simon. And I do want to acknowledge that we're getting a number of comments coming in, so we'll try to get to them before the end of the show, but we need to move along with our conversation. So thank you to our fans for commenting. We do appreciate you. So Simon and Roland, I mentioned to you before, and I've said I live on an island, and I've been reading in the paper that they are bringing the wind turbines here, that they're not here in this house, but they're bringing them to the ocean here. And of course, people are up in arms because they have their magnificent view. And I think it's not just about the view, it's also about what impact these turbines are going to have to the ocean itself, the cycle of life, the sea creatures. So Simon, you have a lot of knowledge about this, and so do you, Roland. So I'm going to start off with our guest, Simon, then we'll go over to Roland.
Right. Again, where do we start? Yes, I live in an island as well, and the island is called the British Isles. So we are an island nation. It's a pretty big island, but it is there nonetheless. So the UK government have gone in for these wind turbines in a big way, and wherever you go now on land, you'll see evidence of these things whirling away in the background. In the Scottish Highlands, the gamekeepers call them pheasant shredders because of birds flying into them, and they finish up, oven ready, plucked, the whole lot. But there's a growing number of these going offshore now, which is a big concern to our fishing industry and to our aquaculture industry as well. They've got planned for the next few years a further 19,000 wind turbines in addition to what we already have offshore just now, and that's just inside UK territorial waters. So it's taking a lot of space up. It's taking a lot of valuable ground up. There's a tremendous feeling against them, but there's a lot of government money that's saying, you know, you're going to have them and that's it, because we need to be more self-sufficient in power. The one area that they haven't really got to realize yet and got to grips with, and I've been knocking on the door of some very high-ranking officials in the government, and that is that our national grid system that deals with the distribution of electricity throughout Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales, is not geared up to deal with this extra amount of power that is being generated. So these things are whirling about offshore there, and actually nothing's coming ashore yet, other than just a trickle. So there's a lot of thought got to be put into just exactly how you're going to harness all this, because no point in having these things out there doing the stuff and you can't actually cope with it ashore. It's like having, huge big petrol pumps or water pumps or whatever somewhere and trying to feed it all through a 2-inch wide pipe. Doesn't work. So it's a lesson which will be learned by other countries as well, because I'm quite sure that the UK is not alone in this one.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Simon. Roland, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same here on the land. I have no experience from the seaside, so I'm very interested what Simon's thoughts are on that and Nick's expertise is. But what I see here on the land in my home country, Austria, in the country I lived before for many years in Spain, and I was traveling through Spain the last winter for a few months, and I met a lot of friends who were very resistant against these wind turbines in the mountain, in the windy mountain regions. And to be honest, in the beginning, everything sounds exciting and a good idea. We have alternatives, methods to generate energy because we need more and more energy. Of course, there's no doubt on that. And it sounds good, to building up wind turbines and bringing the landscape where it's windy on the mountains, or like Simon said, offshore, where it's also very windy. Sounds good. It sounds clean, green. But in the end, it's absolutely not. But I can say from my perspective, I have a lot of friends who are very resistant against it, who are professors from different universities, and it says, no, not at all. It's destroying the environment totally, and it's changing the climate. It's changing the weather systems. It's changing the biology, the fauna, and everything around it. I give an example. For example, when you see wind turbines on land, like in mountains, maybe it's not close to cities, so it's in nature. A lot of nature is going to be destroyed. But first of all, this huge turbines, when you stand in front of it, you have an idea how huge it is. Most of them, people see them miles away, but when you stand in front of it, you stand like this. It's huge. So to bring all the stuff there in nature, you destroy a lot of land, because you have to imagine you don't carry them on donkeys or on horses. You have huge trucks. You need really, really strong, broad roads to bring the materials to this area. So you destroy a lot of nature, forests, whatever's done, just to build the roads. Then you bring tons and tons and tons, thousands and thousands of trucks moving in and out every day, and they're driving on gasoline and not on electricity, bringing tons and tons on concrete in to build this huge fundament, because otherwise it's not working. So tons and tons on concrete in nature. This is not good. And then you build up these huge turbines. As Simon said, it's changing everything. I met friends in Spain, and Dr. Jacalyn, you know them, Maria and Lucio, friends of mine. We had them on the show, who were very resistant. I met friends in North Germany, where a lot of wind turbines are there, and they tell me that the soil is totally dried out, not because of the climate change, because of the wind. Because wind, I was washing my clothes today, and it was a windy day, and it dried in an hour because of the wind, not of the heat, because of the wind. So the wind that is produced by the turbines is drying out the soil and destroying the soil totally. It's destroying the whole nature. As Simon said, birds who are on the route from north to south, they're not changing their route. They follow the route since, I don't know, 100 years or thousands of years. They get in this environment. You can see thousands and thousands of shredded birds on the ground. So there's a lot of change going on there. And the other thing is, a friend of mine sent me pictures. You cannot recycle, how to say it, the rotator blades. You cannot recycle them. It's really toxic material. So what they do is a huge wind turbines rotators. They just dig it in the ground. They make huge graves, put it in, cover it with soil, and that's all. And it's a toxic bomb for future generation. That's my stuff. I'm very looking forward to hear something about from Simon's perspective on the offshore. But land in, it sounds good for people who are not educated. It sounds good, alternatives, but it's a nightmare for nature.
Yeah, totally agree. And the other thing is, of course, the wind doesn't blow all the time. It's not a constant. So, you get a lot of calm days, in particular in the summer months as well. And even those beautiful, crisp winter mornings and winter days when, it looks absolutely beautiful outside, but there's no wind, not a breath of it, February in particular. And at that time, demand for electricity is high. So, there's a loss of purpose there as well. And you're absolutely right about the toxicity of the turbine blades as well. They are non-recyclable. So this is a big problem. But at sea, I mean, let's look at the seabed. These turbines, they're about 100 yards or 100 meters plus, some of them up to 300 meters in length. So they are huge, big installations. So they have to be anchored into the seabed one way or another. Now, they have two different types. One is the fixed one, where it's like a long pole and it goes rammed into the seabed itself as a static fixture. But then there are floating turbines as well, which have got enormous moorings and a lot of big heavy chain and anchors which will weigh 20 or 30 tons just to hold this thing in place, to stop it from getting washed away. Now, the effect that makes on the seabed does affect the habitat, obviously, of fish and shellfish and all marine life, in particular when these things are being installed. And it takes years for the seabed to get back, regenerate where it can support, fish and marine life. It doesn't happen overnight. The other issue, which is quite a serious one, which hadn't been worked out again beforehand now, and that is that with these big wind farms, as they call them, and it's vast areas. We've got a new one about to be opened off the west coast of Scotland, which is one of the smaller ones at 784 square miles. I mean, it's huge by any man's standards, but it's not one of the bigger ones we've got in the UK. Off the east coast, yeah, that's where the big boys are. Now, the seabed alters because you've got the current flowing, in particular in the North Sea. It's a very strong current of tide going in and out, and that moves in a north to south direction. So this builds up behind these wind turbines. The sand gets shifted and forms sandbanks and reefs quite a distance away from the wind farms, starting from the wind farms and moving quite a distance away. So it's altering the whole shape and layout of the seabed, which in itself is again altering the current, speeding up the current flows and eddies and so on that go around it. So the massive differences there. One of the wind farms have got, or it's one of the companies, should I say, that's got installations, have got 18 applications in for sites for these wind farms. And out of the 18 of these sites, 16 of them are on prime haddock spawning grounds and juvenile fish nursery areas. So if they go, then because of the installation, then they'll never come back. They might move further north as the sea temperatures rise, as cod and mackerel and so on have all started to move a bit further north, and we're getting warmer water fish coming into our waters now. So if these fish go, then as I say, we never get them back, and there goes the fishing industry, which is supporting tens of thousands of jobs. So it's a big false economy. There are alternatives. And a big issue with the windmills as well is they don't look particularly attractive. But if they were to look at other technologies and really put the money where the mouth is there and go in for it, likes of wave power, well, not so much the wave power, but tidal energy, because the tide comes in and out twice every day. It's a constant. It will always come in. It will always go out again. So there are lots of areas around every coast where you've got a good strong current, and you have a big turbine put down on the seabed and let it go. There have been experiments and trials with them, and they've actually all been very successful. They've overcome issues of the fish being sucked into these turbines. They've got deflectors and so on, where the fish will go around them rather than through them. Likewise with seals and whales and so on. So that is a good alternative. I mean, it's the same as well with the solar panels. I mean, they've got you go to warmer countries, and they've got great big acreages of solar panels and solar farms. Well, there, the sun doesn't always shine. I know technology has moved on, and they got the voltaic cells now where they work off daylight. Not just sunlight, but they're quite happy with daylight as well to generate the power. So there are a lot of alternatives, and I think it's very sad to see that governments have all, sort of like lemmings jumping off a cliff. One follows the other. Each government is following the other now with having wind technology. It's the trendy thing, but they'll wake up to this one day soon and realize there is a problem there, big problem.
Absolutely. Simon, I have a question. You mentioned tide alternatives. I have a question. Tides related to the wind turbines offshore. Are there data available that there's thousands and thousands of offshore wind turbines? Do they have an impact on the tides, on the height of the waves, on the tides itself? Do you think there's a long-term impact that it change?
They won't affect the tide because the tide that's governed by the lunar pull, the gravity from the gravitational pull with the moon. So when the moon's at its closest, your tide's high, it goes away and it's lower. So the tide will always ebb and flow, but the current itself, the way it eddies round, though you'll get changes there, and that's what's kicking up the sediment from the seabed and creating these big sandbars and reefs elsewhere, which weren't there before. All the charts are all Admiralty charts are all having to be redrawn now because they suddenly realised a place which was 20 fathoms deep is now maybe only 10 fathoms deep. So restricting to various different types of shipping, and this change in depth could be 20 or 30 miles away from the wind farm. It doesn't just center around the wind farm itself. It's the distance away. So, if you imagine if you've got a bowl of water and you put sand in it, and then with a straw, blow through the straw at the sand, and the sand will shift through the water and it will deposit itself further off. Well, that's what's happening on the seabed just now with these wind installations.
That was a great analogy. Thank you, Simon. I'm really learning a lot from the two of you. A question that I have is, do we know where the first wind farm installation was, and has there been any research that people can evaluate and say, okay, this wind farm was put in on this date, as a result this and this is happening? Because there are people who don't believe it, right? They don't believe that it's causing any damage.
Yeah, I think that, the wind farms and the windmills have evolved from the old windmill which would drive grindstones for making flour, Somebody sort of thought, oh yeah, okay, it turns out wheel down, so an electric generator at the bottom of that will create electricity, and so there's the birth of your modern windmills. Bring back Don Quixote. He was a good guy.
Thank you.
For your question, I had a neighbor when I've been living in Mallorca, and he became a billionaire by actually 20 years already. He started building huge wind parks, for example, in South America, in the Atacama Desert, and he made a lot of money. It's an investment in the beginning, but he made a lot of money because he had long-term contracts with the government, so they take all the electricity. And he told me it's an incredible business, and there's a huge lobby, but they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what the impact is, and they pay a hell on lobbying. They pay a hell on money on journalists not to write about the truth.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the installations themselves are not the only problem at sea, because all that power being generated there has got to come ashore to go feed into the grid. Whether the grid works or not, a different matter. But you've got the cables coming from these offshore installations coming ashore. Now, they tried to hush it up, but it came out with some conscientious scientists who'd worked out that this was actually having a very detrimental effect on migratory passage of the brown crab, which is a big fishery in the UK. And crabs, they migrate in an anti-clockwise direction around the shores of the UK. But they've come to these electric cables, which are massive, great big hefty cables going from the wind farms coming ashore. And the electromagnetic field that's been evolved around the cables mesmerizes them, and they sort of seem to get high on it, and they stop and they don't move on from there. So you've got a big congregation of crabs in an area where you're not actually allowed to fish anyway, and they're just totally hooked on this electromagnetic field that's around it. But the other thing which is causing big concern, even more so, is the anomalies in lobster and crab, and even in fish as well. There's deformities appearing in lobster and crab, and it's been associated particularly for the areas around where the cables are. So this is another thing where science hasn't caught up with the speed of the generation of these windmills. It's a lot of government money being thrown at it. A lot of people are making a huge amount of money out of it, and that's it. And it's just saying, to hang with everything else, we've got this great idea, throw money at us, we'll put them up there, we'll pump the power ashore, and what happens to the ecology of it? Doesn't really matter. We don't see it. It's out of sight. It's out of mind.
Simon, that's one interesting point you mentioned, the electromagnetic field around the cables, because what most people don't know is that the energy that is harvested offshore is not arriving on the land, because through the length of the cable you lose a lot of energy. So what you harvest, you don't get on land. You're losing a lot of energy, because I have solar panels on my motorhome, and they told me the longer the cable, the more we lose. So the shorter the distance, the better. So with the longer the cable from offshore to inland, the more electricity lose. It's not everything can really be used, and it's been harvested in the beginning.
Absolutely right. And you can't sort of boost it halfway along to speed up the flow. That doesn't work. So that, yes, you're absolutely right. It does go down. And it's also, what do they do when these things have reached the end of their shelf life? What do they do with them? I mean, they're huge, and the cost of putting them up was colossal, but the cost of taking them down is equally colossal. And as we discussed earlier with the turbine blades, what do you do with them? They're non-recyclable and also create toxicity in the ground. Again, an area, they say, to heck with science, it doesn't matter. We're making money out of this. I remember I was at a conference once, or a discussion seminar, which was being delivered by the managing director of one of the companies that makes these turbines. And he openly said at the meetings as well, these things have a 15-year shelf life, if you like, and they, after that, then they need to be replaced for the actual motor part of it itself. He said, but to build one of these motors takes about 3 or 4 times the amount of energy that it will ever produce in its lifetime. So again, I thought, and this was years ago, and I thought, well, what a waste of time all this is, really.
Absolutely. And as you said, with the cables, most of the cables are made of copper. And we all know that mining copper is not a very environmental friendly process too. So we are really wasting a lot of energy and resources to produce this, whatever we want to call it, for quite a short term of lifetime.
Yeah, it was actually a slight change of subject, but it's on a similar vein. I was reading an article, it was only yesterday, I think it was, that the lithium, they're looking at electric cars, the lithium for the batteries is mined in America. It's shipped to Norway, where it's made into the lithium batteries, which are then shipped out to Japan to make the cars, which are then shipped back out to America. There's an awful lot of shipping going on, which is all using a considerable amount of diesel oil and heavy fuel oil to do the transportation. So I don't think they're quite as environmentally friendly as they like to make out they are.
Not at all, Simon. You're absolutely correct. I know there was a study coming out in Bavaria, the motor industry of the BMW, the Mercedes, and the Ingolstadt, the Audi, and they brought out the new Audi, and they said to produce this one vehicle with all this battery, the lithium, all the shipping around the globe, for assembling it, you can run a normal car 250,000 miles on gasoline before you have a benefit out from electricity. But who the hell is driving a car 250,000 miles? First thing. Secondly is, I'm here in a very rural countryside, and more and more people are buying electricity car. Well, I don't like them at all. I said I drove them when I was a kid, but anyway, on the circus. But most of the station where you can charge your car is run by diesel to generate electricity.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'm not sold on the idea of an electric car at all. In the UK, I mean, there's a big push on just now to sell electric cars, and apparently the figures last year reckoned that there were 30% more electric cars sold last year in the UK than diesel cars. So I sort of thought, with horror, at this time of year, we've got, peak holiday traffic time as well. And not so much in Scotland, but particularly down towards Cornwall, the southwest of England there. You get queues and queues of cars and traffic jams on the freeways or motorways or whatever, getting to Cornwall. Now, these electric cars, they're going along there, and they get stuck in this traffic jam there. And of course, they've got the radio on because it's hot. They've got the cold air blowers on, the aircon on, which is all burning up their battery power. And if one breaks down, the others can't get around the side of it. So they'll all finish up out of charge. I mean, you can't just sort of nip down to your local gas station or petrol station with a can and top up another charge of fuel. That doesn't work. You've actually got to take the car there to have it charged. I mean, I drive about the country extensively in my work as well, and there's, for the number of electric cars on the road, surprisingly few charging stations in areas where they can get a proper charge. You charge them at home overnight. Well, our electricity bills here have just gone through the roof with the government took off the capping of electricity prices. So it's actually, the electric cars are now just about as expensive to run as as petrol or diesel. But the big risk is, they go along and they suddenly run out of charge. Apparently, the new thing now as well, instead of road rage, is battery rage, with people just absolutely freaking out. Are we going to have enough power to get to where we want to? I mean, I could get into my car and I could drive down to London, which is, about 12, 14, maybe 15 hours away. And I would make one, possibly two stops to fill up with diesel. And if I had an electric car, I would have to stop, I don't know, 5, 6 times. And the length of time to charge a car, you need to stop at least half an hour, if not more. So the journey time is considerably increased. So the whole world will have to slow down. And we all know the pace of life for everybody is speeding up. But with the electric cars, it's going to slow it all down. So there's going to be a lot of frustration going on there.
Absolutely. And it's not only charging half an hour. You have to be lucky that there's no queue for charging.
Right.
Because here
Exactly.
in Germany,
Yes.
there's a lot of queues. And it's interesting when I hear politicians say in Germany, the motor car company, by 2030, they want 80% an electric car. My question is, how can you imagine everyone is coming home from the office 5 p.m., 6 p.m., charging their car? How does it work? Because we have already an energy challenge crisis. We don't have electricity. Everyone plugging in the electric car. How should this work?
Quite. And they reckon as well, these charging stations, 10% of them don't work.
Exactly. Simon,
It's
Sorry, I have a question for you. I know you're a yachtsman and a sailor. I'm wondering, I went for a walk yesterday and I saw over the bridge there were so many boats. I couldn't believe it. And how will these wind turbines affect boaters?
It won't make a lot of difference, except for there's areas where you just won't be able to sail. That's it. It's but with leisure craft, the wind farms tend to be a little bit further offshore than yachtsmen would normally go. People are up here just now in the west of Scotland. I mean, we're in full summer mode at the moment. It's a bit dull out there just now, and it's been colder today. But we've actually had a glorious spell of weather where it's not been too hot, but the sun has been there, and it's been fantastic sailing weather for those in the boating world. But yachtsmen tend not to go any more than maybe 5 or 6 miles offshore. But to get to the wind farms, you're really about 12 miles offshore. So unless you're making a passage, again, particularly in the North Sea, if you're sailing from, say, Edinburgh and going to Copenhagen or somewhere like that, or up to Norway, then you're going to have to negotiate your way around wind farms. And that obviously that kind of distance involves night passages as well. So you've just got to be, have your wits about you and be careful where you go. But it doesn't affect the sailors so much closer to shore. Thank goodness. Not yet, anyway.
Thanks for that answer. I didn't know if the actual moving of the wind would actually pull the sailboat closer to it, but I don't know anything about boating, so.
It would certainly have an interesting effect with creating, eddies around it. And if you sail towards one of these things, there's, probably strong risk of a katabatic wind, which is a wind usually goes along like that, but katabatic wind comes straight down. We get that in a lot of the sea lochs here as well, and the fjords of Norway. You can be sailing along and you've got a good wind sort of coming on the quarter at the next minute, whack, one's coming down, it flattens you out. It's happened to me a few times in my yacht racing career. It's been quite exciting, shall we say, and everything gets very wet and very cross. But if you know where to expect these katabatic winds, you can use them to good effect, and they are tactically as well. But that's a different story when it comes to yacht racing.
Thank you so much. Roland, last question for Simon, over to you.
So Simon, what are you recommending to our audience? I'm very straight, and I said, okay, sign up every petition and say no to the government, no, because the side effects are much worse than we gain from wind turbines. What is your recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, there's any amount of turbines going about, any amount of petitions going about as well. For not wanting wanting these things. We've had this problem, particular with the land-based ones again, because nobody wants those, outside their house, or a beautiful view looking across a valley or a glen, and they don't want to see these things there. It takes the beauty away from it. So there's always strong opposition to that. So the government decided, oh, well, we won't build any more wind turbines onshore now, but we'll put them all offshore. That doesn't matter. You don't see them out there. It doesn't really matter. Well, it does. And I think there's more of an ecological issue created offshore now than people have actually realized. And I think there's still a lot more to come out of that too. So, what you said earlier, Roland, was absolutely right there with the infrastructure to build the roads to ship these things up. I mean, they are enormous. And so it needs a very sturdy road to build to take the lorries to deliver these things to their sites. And the concrete bases to hold them in position as well. So all that has a significant effect on the on the landscape and the drying of the soil and the shredding of the pheasants and so on. But offshore, equally, we've got this problem with it changing the shape of the seabed and creating these sandbars and reefs and so on. Long way from where the installations actually are, just by the scouring effect created by the currents of the water going around them, and the issues to the spawning stocks and the juvenile nursery areas for our fish as well. And then you've got the cables with this soporific effect they're having on the crab, and also the deformities it's creating in it. So, I mean, there's just there's a plethora of problems arising, both on land and on sea as well. But as I say, sadly, it's just this attitude of out of sight, out of mind.
Absolutely. And that's so important that people are aware of what's going on, what they don't see offshore. And as you said, it's the same like online. You have to transport it. And even on the sea, they're not using rowing boats to bring the material there.
It's very sizable, shipping that's used for those. And then they've got to be serviced as well. And it's, they've got... many days they can't get near. In particular, the North Sea is a wicked bit of water, because the North Sea is relatively shallow and you've got a huge volume of water trying to push its way through. So you get very, very big seas, and really nasty short, sharp ones as well, which it doesn't make life easy. So if you're trying to negotiate a service vessel that's maybe taking a new blade out to one of the blades is broken or buckled or whatever, then it's got to go out. So you've got a big ship going out there, and then a platform with its cranes and hoists to lift this thing up. You need pretty calm weather to do that job, because it's a precision job. And if the boat's rocking about all over the place, then you can't do it. So there's all sorts of major issues that arise around that. On land, fine, the road's solid. You drive up to it, you get your big crane, old one off, new one on. At sea, you could be sitting around there for 2-3 days or more in bad weather, waiting for that little window in the weather where it's calm enough to be able to go in and actually do the job.
Simon, thank you so much. So much great information that you shared. And before we go, I do want to bring up your website so that people can celebrate the fact that you've launched this and they can learn more about you. So let's take a look. All right, here we go. So we're launching soon, 18 days, 5 hours, 13 minutes, and 10 seconds.
Yes. Oh my God! Don't forget the 10 seconds. Oh, who's that? I know. Have a good laugh.
No, it's great. I'm glad you have your website, and so people can learn more about you here, author and television presenter.
Oh, I recognize that logo from somewhere.
I love that logo.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And Simon, people can.
One of my quotations.
Yes, you're famous for your quotes.
And their footprints on the moon. It's so true.
I love that one.
And then there's a contact section there.
Cool.
All right, people can get in touch with you there. Anything else you want people to know about you, Simon, before we leave today?
Yes, you can watch me on USA Global TV every Wednesday afternoon at 4:00 UK time, or whatever time that equates to, wherever in the world you happen to be, and that's on the on the UK show. It's a fantastic show. It's really great fun. There's a crowd of us there. Dr. Jacalyn, of course, and Diane Floyd Bem, Ian Pelham Turner, and Helena Chard, who are royal correspondents and photographers over here. So great show. Join us every Wednesday. Have some fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for your time and for all of the education and awareness that you brought today on our launching episode, our pilot, our first show. We're really honored to have you.
Thank you, Simon. It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be here as well, particularly with it being the inaugural one, the first one. I hope I haven't spoiled it for everybody else.
No, I have many more questions, so we'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always here and very, very keen to help out in any way I can. But yes, I wish this show all the very best of luck, and I'm sure it will do extremely well, because it's a very topical issue now, and we need to create the awareness of it. And okay, today we've really gone into the downside, and we've absolutely trashed all the windmills and so on, and renewable energy and electric cars and so on. But there's a lot of good things to come as well. So watch the show as well. I think you can learn a lot.
Thank you, Simon. That's a really good point, that we are going to have various perspectives about different topics, and they'll be uplifting as well. So thank you for that. Roland, we have your website also that I know you have a zillion websites, but let's just share your website if people want to reach out to you. There it is. Where should I go in here?
Yes, you can just scroll down. It's a scrolling website. It's my overview website, and from there you can link to my business website, and also to my coaching website on Wireless Life Rocks, but also to my men's group, yes.
Okay. And it's in German for people who are wondering what language it is, right?
Well, you're on the German one, but it's also available in English for sure. When you press on the American flag, it's also available in English.
Smart. I love that. All right. Thank you both for being here. And we are going to sign off. Roland, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, and what's coming up right after this show?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with you is contact me on the website roland.friedl.com. You will have a contact form, or you email me directly. It's office@roland.friedl.com, ROLANDFRIEDL, rolandfriedl.com. That's the option. Yeah, and stay tuned for the next show. It's the Mallorca Connection. I'm very looking forward to that. And I will talk about business ideas. It's for people who want to start a business, but they don't have an idea what kind of business it fits to them, what fits to their budget, what fits to their skills, or what fits to their dreams and goals. So we talk about this.
All right. Thank you very much. And for those of you out there, do you have what it takes to be a TV presenter on USA Global TV and Radio? Reach out to me if you are interested in finding out what it takes to be a Roland Friedl or a Simon MacDonald. It's a special gift and talent that certain people have, and we're looking to expand and grow. So if you want to join our team, please do reach out. You can contact me by going to usaglobaltv.com, where there's a contact form. All right, that's all we have for right now. As we close out our show, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, the British School of Excellence, and then we'll be right back with our next show, the Mallorca Connection. Bye for now.
Bye.
This program is brought to you in part by the British School of Excellence and founder, Mr. Philip Sykes, building confidence, changing lives. Do you share our view that etiquette is a set of modern life skills that are essential for personal and professional success? Join us as an etiquette coach and change people's lives through the power of etiquette and manners.
The last few days have been really amazing. I had the trainer course from the British School of Etiquette.
And I must say it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made, and one of the best investments I've made in my own training and development.
Now, words alone will not describe the transformation and the positive path that I have traveled with the British School of Etiquette.
I find really I learned a lot from the lessons this time I came.
The last few days with the British School of Etiquette have been fantastic.
And what I've learned now is really beyond my expectations.
This is the most rewarding experience and the best investment I have made this year.
It was just great. I learned so much, and when I go back to Belgium I will incorporate a lot of it into my day-to-day life and business.
It's been absolutely wonderful for the whole week that we were here.
I feel transformed, and I feel like blowing a trumpet and tell people, come and do this school. This class is the best. This is the best school ever.
You should take it. It will change your life immediately.
I am now able to teach other people how to bring the best of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, BSc.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our clients for their testimonials on the Train the Trainer program. Our exponential and global growth is so significant that we have evolved from the British School of Etiquette to the British School of Excellence, where we're investors in people. Let us invest in you and your career. Contact us to become an etiquette coach. Go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Start your career and elevate your success today.